Explained by the Billy Meier contacts, mysteries, myths, legends, conspiracy theories, historical inaccuracies, and more, compiled by David Chance, revised July 2, 2025.
Future Earth Humans Part 19. See also Gilgamesh. See also Hyperborea, Hyperboreans. See also Ica Stones. See also Longskulls. See also Men in Black. See also Nazca Lines. See also Nokodemion. See also Ptah. See also Quetzalcoatl. See also Rod. See also Starchild Skull. See also Teos Caves Metal Library. See also Tunguska Event 1908. See also UFOs Flying Saucers. Contact Report 274.
Wondering, I looked into my office next door and discovered that my typewriter was uncovered and turned on, so someone must have written on it for the aforementioned 1 or 2 minutes. Otherwise, I could not explain the whole thing to myself, because for my part, I had not used the typewriter that day yet, and had therefore kept it covered. Thinking about it, I came to the conclusion that maybe one of you might have been here and typed around on the machine. Was that really the case?
So it was, yes. I myself was here and used your writing instrument, the function of which you explained to me, and the use of which you also explained to me, so I tried to learn to write with it on several occasions with your consent.
But now a question about the strange occurrences of the vault and the disappearance of the corrections from the original report and the disorder in Engelbert's artwork. Can you try to do something about this and tell me what you could perhaps the Black Men, aka Men in Black, be behind this?
However, as far as the terrestrial organization of the Black Men, Men in Black, is concerned, we know for sure that they do not have such possibilities to intrude unnoticed into your workroom and locked receptacles.
But I thought you would be able to locate the other louts if they went through your alarm screen.
That is probably true, but there are other technical ways of causing such incidents, as you have described them, without a person being physically required to do it. We also know such possibilities and possess such techniques. But there are many other possibilities which are unknown to us, but known to other intelligences and which they also use.
Contact Report 276.
Those of us who are in contact with you, we all speak the German language. This has already been explained to you at an earlier point in time. This is also true if a contact should only be one time.
But in the past you also used language converters and translators. I still remember that very well.
That is right. But in the meantime, this has changed, because now everyone is learning the German language, even if there is only a short-term assignment on the Earth. The reason for this is you, so that if necessary you can be contacted personally if the situation requires it.
Very pleasing. May I still ask you, Samjong, what is your main field of activity?
In addition to various other activities, I am mainly dedicated to subatomic vacuum technology as well as subatomic crystal physics and crystal technology.
Contact Report 278.
Can I ask you something about viruses and bacteria, etc., how you protect yourself against them when you are on other planets? Can you tell me about it?
I can do that very well. On the one hand, we are protected by our clothing, which is so much worked and equipped with sensors that it registers all kinds of pathogens known or unknown to us, etc., and destroys them with special radiation that is harmless to us. This applies both to bacteria and viruses of all kinds that you have mentioned, as well as to other pathogens, which, however, may still be unknown to earthly physicians. Our clothing, which we wear outside of our home planet, is equipped with an appropriate filter system which eliminates all parasites, etc., all germs and all viruses and bacteria of every form. In addition, each of our flying apparatuses has a large, equally active filter and radiation device in the entry area, which is in continuous operation so that no germs can be introduced. These systems are absolutely safe.
But then there is something I do not understand. Simyase once told me that they always have the problem of snuffing here on Earth.
That was indeed the case, but this fact only referred to when they or other of our groups wrapped themselves in earthly garments and thus lost the protection explained to you. As you know, Simyase and several others temporarily moved among Earthlings at very short notice when there were special things to do. At that time, this could only be very short because heavy equipment had to be carried to protect the consciousness and the mind. However, if one of us was affected or infected by the common cold or any other illness, this was regulated and remedied by re-entering the flying apparatus and wearing the usual clothes again.
What was it like, or is it like with me? I have suffered from various diseases caused by bacteria or viruses.
That may be true, but as you yourself know, your diseases have never been so dangerous for Simyase or any of us. Besides, as far as I know, you have already been informed about this by Simyase. Special safety measures have been taken with regard to you and in function, so that you can unhindered be with us and enter our flying machines. Further, you also know that in relation to your earthly physics, only these can be considered for disinfection, but not your inner organs, etc. This possibility exists only for us, which is why only we can keep ourselves free from any germs, etc. Our devices and apparatuses are only tuned to our bodies and organs, etc.
What do you think of it when you transport foreign planet inhabitants in your flying machines?
Special filter and radiation devices are required for this, which are tuned to the life forms concerned and which are then subjected to a holistic disinfection.
Contact Report 279.
You also work in the form of the ultra-subatomic technologies, as well as in the neural technologies, etc., whereby you also create artificial intelligences, which further develop themselves and create their own intelligence, and thus can also be creative. Is there not a danger that such intelligences can get out of control, as is always the case in science fiction novels, for example?
No, this danger does not exist. Because our technologies are so aligned that an artificial intelligence eliminates itself if it falls into any of the degenerations and violations of laws that we have established. The security of self-elimination is in the range of 100%. In addition, everything is formed in such a manner that degenerations and violations of the law are impossible from the ground up, so that self-elimination of artificial intelligence is only a final safeguard for all cases.
To learn more about this, I mean in terms of function, etc., is probably not possible.
Right.
But can one ask whether the ultra-subatomic technology is the latest trend in your development?
No, because parts of our technology and development are moving into much deeper areas that are still below the quark levels.
Contact Report 281.
I had asked Zaphanat Paniach to give me some information about the tiny telemeter or control disk that performs all the functions you think are important in a geostationary orbit several hundred kilometers above the center. What is the total size of the control disk according to earthly masses?
The whole structure has a size of 25 cubic millimeters.
Aha, and what are the main functions of this tiny creature?
The whole structure in the measure of 25 cubic millimeters is calculated with the casing, which I must mention before. It contains a hypersender and a hyperreceiver, as well as 4 different control devices, 7 different registration devices, a solar energy generator, a geostationary regulator, 3 memories for consciousness-based swinging waves, 3 impulse transmitters, as well as a device with an alarm function.
Gigantic. And all this on an ultra-subatomic basis, if I have understood Ptah and Zaphanat Paniach correctly, or even on levels that we call the quark level, etc.
This corresponds to the circumstances.
If I understood Ptah and Zaphanat Paniach correctly, then the storage capacity of the tiny control disk is 90 million gigabytes, which corresponds to 86 trillion bytes and 773 trillion bits, respectively, as we have calculated.
Yes, roughly speaking, these are the correct figures. For the exact calculation, some billions of bytes would have to be added.
How and on which material is this gigantic amount of bytes stored?
The whole structure consists of a special plastic, in all parts. The actual storage block of the 90 million gigabytes is also made of a very special plastic, whereby this element measuring 0.6 cubic millimeters. The storage itself takes place through a high-quality irradiation of a very specific light form.
So then there is no magnetic storage left in the game, as is still the case with us on Earth in this respect?
No, magnetism is no longer necessary.
So what about the energies? How are they transported from one place or device to another?
There exist no material connections anymore, but all of the energies are only transmitted in a swinging wave-based manner.
Contact Report 282.
What was held was used for demonstration and information purposes for all our Federation members.
I am flat. By all Federation members, do you really mean all humanities or just spiritual leaders? The latter would not be logical because you speak of all members of the Federation.
You already understand it correctly. The meaning of my words refers to all members of the Federation.
Then I'm reassured when only 120 billion humans from foreign solar systems and planets know what's going on in the center. How the group members behave here, what they do and work, and what their interests are, etc. I am not sure what I mean.
Contact Report 283.
The presence of those strangers on Earth which we observe and with whom we have not been able to come into contact yet, although it is questionable whether we can ever do this.
But what do you think? Can you also find doppelgangers on Earth of you as well as of Quetzal and Svath?
This is to be assumed, because both we and the Earth humans of the Hinoch lineage have things in common, so that there is also a doppelganger existence.
Contact Report 284. A note. This contact report partially discusses sketches of Ptah, Simyase, Quetzal, and Svath made by Christian Krukowski and Barbara Harnish, which are included in the report.
On the one hand, this is to be accepted in terms of their abilities, and on the other hand, because we impulsively assisted both of them in their work, which, by the way, was also the case with Christian earlier when he portrayed Asket. In and of itself, we are all not particularly keen to make our likenesses public among Earth humans, with which we want to prevent glorification and the like.
And what do you think when something has to be decided?
When something is due to be elected, the responsible spiritual leadership declares an election call that, depending on its necessity or need, is spread regionally, nationally, or globally. A call for elections is thus made public, announcing a certain day on which a ballot is to take place, which is to be carried out via the Spiritual Leadership Communication Network. As a rule, this takes place in a fixed morning hour, at which time the necessary information about the election object is transmitted to each citizen entitled to vote, both female and male, who then have to cast their vote on the same day within a fixed period. This will prevent any agreement being reached on the subject of the vote, so that each person entitled to vote must decide, form his or her opinion, and cast their vote at their own discretion, according to their own understanding and in accordance with their own responsibility.
And what is the situation when, for example, advice is given by the High Council? Does it then generally simply pass as legislation and be followed?
No, that is not the case. Every advice of the High Council is brought to the election of all citizens entitled to vote by the competent spiritual leadership, according to the same system as I have just explained.
And what does one understand or have to understand by eligible voters, citizens, or persons?
Voting eligibility exists when an age of 14 years is reached.
Abstentions, do they exist?
Of course.
And what about that? With us on the Earth, for example, a citizen can be deprived of his civil rights. For example, as a result of certain breaches of law, or in the case of consciousness-based unsoundness of mind, which is erroneously referred to on the Earth as mental insanity. Is this also the case with you?
No. Such things existed at the earliest time, when for the fallible ones there was still the need to carry out fulfillment of measures at certain places for the fulfillment of guidelines, whereby the measure-fulfilling ones were segregated from the society. For about 52,000 years, however, there has been no more crime on our worlds, nor any unrest, and consequently there have been no places of measure fulfillment or places of measure fulfillment since then.
Contact Report 285.
Then I have a question regarding more highly developed races in the universe. Is it possible that you might encounter those as well, or that you have already come into contact with them?
Indeed, that is the case. We maintain contacts in this regard both in our DERN universe and also in the DAL universe.
And do you also benefit from this, at least from a medical and technical point of view?
That is the case naturally. However, we do not only have advantages in medical and technical terms.
Contact Report 286.
We are not superhumans either, if I may say so about us Pleiaren.
I have never seen that in this context either. I mean, that you could be superhumans. Already Simyase pointed out to me on the 28th of January 1975 that you should not be regarded or judged as super, superior, or special humans and the like. Good, but what effectively brings you here now?
It is not easy for me to talk about it, because it is really very private. I have inhibitions. It is really not easy, but so be it. I am in love. For the time being, I do not wish to write down who my feelings revolve around and for whom I feel my deep love. There should first be clarity about how things develop and whether my love is reciprocated.
If you are actually so shy and have such inhibitions, then it is probably difficult for you to confess your love to him.
This is my very concern, and I need your advice as to how I should behave and what I can do.
Contact Report 287.
Are you as inhibited and shy as Florina?
In a certain wise, yes.
Then of course, that is the reason why you two did not dare to discuss the whole thing with each other and admit to each other's feelings of a spiritually fine, sensitive nature and feelings. It is really remarkable that this is still the case with you, just as it is with certain inhibited and shy humans on the Earth. In any case, I suppose that you two are in love and that you desire Florina, if I interpret your words correctly.
Your assumption corresponds to reality. Yes, I love Florina. Only I did not dare to talk to her about it.
You would think that inhibitions and shyness in the relationship of love to another person should no longer carry so much weight.
In and of itself already, but we are also only human beings. And with regard to morals and decency, etc., we cultivate much higher standards than is the case with terrestrial human beings. Then I would like to say goodbye and devote myself to what moves me deeply and what I am extremely happy and full of happiness about.
Contact Report 288.
I was told that you also wanted to discuss personal matters with me.
The whole thing has caused me a lot of trouble and worries as well as problems. Of course, But I would also like to say that your explanations and answers are of enormous importance for our entire spiritual leadership, and that I also came to you with the questions on their behalf.
Then I have another question that relates to hygiene, namely the cleaning of the excrement excretion area. How do you handle this?
The cleaning is carried out by high-frequency vibrations, which also have a disinfecting function and effect. You must remember that we are also human beings who make friends according to our own standards, as is the case with the Earth humans and everywhere else. Feelings play an important role as well as trust and reverence and respect.
Values that Florina and Zaphanat Paneach certainly have in store for you.
This is undeniable. But there is always a certain something that, for some reason, makes human beings feel more attracted to other persons in relation to certain things than to those with whom they are in closest contact. This is also a good thing, because otherwise a relationship could arise that inevitably leads to a lack of freedom, because a compelling connection would arise.
Contact Report 289.
Quetzalcoatl explained, as I also do, that this practice corresponds to a primitive, pagan origin, because birthday celebrations go back to such a beginning, which unfortunately has been preserved on the earth up to the present time, also with regard to similar business concerns. With us, such primitive practices have not been common for tens of thousands of years, because one date is like any other. My daughter Sim Yase has passed all her exams and has now become an Ishrish.
Man, that is really a surprise. I am so happy for her. Was there a particular occasion for this?
If you mean a celebration or something like that, no. Even in this respect, we stick to the objective and modest, just as we do with birthdays. We find that neither a birthday nor an appointment to or in office requires a pagan primitive solemnity, which always gives occasion to exalt and praise a person, by which, as a rule, dishonest words are said, gestures are made, and feelings are set forth which are not true, with exceptions, of course. So it is more honest to refrain from such action and to acknowledge with a simple gesture that the thing just happens and is a fact.
Contact Report 291. A note. See Contact Reports 90, 91, and 93 for information on Billy's first encounter with Asina.
And that I speak your language is because of this little device here on my body belt. It is a language converter.
Aha! This is what Ptah told me about. That you Denebur have received such devices, as well as other flying apparatuses with which you can travel through space.
That is right. Furthermore, the peoples of Deneb have been members of our Federation for quite some time, which is why they have been equipped with appropriate technology.
And why are you here again, Asina?
As usual, we are on an expedition, and since the Earth serves as well as a stopover to our next destination, we have moved into your time by a leap in time. The number of our ships with which we came into your time is 21.
Contact Report 292.
We have not hermetically monitored the Earth and its airspace since 1995, so that we are no longer orientated towards all the entries, etc., of extraterrestrial intelligences.
You already said that earlier, but you also mentioned that you had loosened your overall control since the mid-80s.
That is right, because since then there is no need for total monitoring anymore.
And how did you find Asina after all?
Of course, by calling them via our remote communication devices, when our search equipment and analyzers, as well as the planetary communication attempts, produced no results and remained unsuccessful. Consequently, we thought that the Armada must be outside the Earth, which is why we considered success through remote communication, which then produced the desired result.
You speak of remote communication and probably mean a hyperwave or interstellar radio or something. For us here on Earth, distance communication unfortunately only means from place to place, from country to country, or from continent to continent, or in the highest case to earthly space stations and manned space capsules and the like.
I understand. Of course, our remote communication devices refer to a technology that enables us to bridge millions and billions of light years at above light speed.
That's how far we Earthlings should be. But tell me, what is the average age of Asena's race, I mean of the Denebers? Can you tell me that?
Of course, it's no secret. Their average age is 320 earthly years.
Earth humans have been eating genetically modified things for many thousands of years that have been genetically manipulated by extraterrestrials, such as the pear or the avocado fruit.
Anonymously, I shall also send you greetings and best wishes from many people of our Federation, whereby it must be clear to you that in our Federation many more people know you than you can imagine. Truly, there are billions, which is especially due to all the works of spiritual doctrinal form, etc., which you have made for us in all the years of our contacts, and which we of course spread through our spiritual leadership and through our communication channels, etc.
Contact Report 293.
As is customary in your language, you call human beings of our or your kind simply human beings or humanoids, while you call other human beings who do not resemble us or you anatomically, both externally or internally, extra-humanoids or extra-human beings. Here on the Earth, at least in the German language, this sounds a bit strange, especially because we have a different term for foreign people, one that is borrowed from Greek. This is how we call anatomically foreign people xenohumanoids, which means foreign humanoids, or xenoanthropos, which corresponds to the term foreign person. Could we then use these earthly terms in the future when we talk about anatomically foreign people? There is probably still the term extraterrestrial, but this does not mean what it should mean when we talk about anatomically foreign human beings. Exohumanoids are actually correct.
Nothing stands in the way of your wish. Moreover, the earthly word terms are more familiar to the Earth humans. We never tell you things that correspond to untruth.
Contact Report 294.
We Pleiadians Pleiaren do not come to Earth as gods, angels, saints, or the like, and we also do not come to bring salvation, peace, freedom, love, knowledge, wisdom, and progress to the earthly world and to earthly humans. For all these values must be laboriously worked out by the Earth human himself or herself through their reason and understanding, as well as through their thinking, feeling, and acting. So we also do not solve any problems for the Earth humans, because just as we are not saviors, we are also not omniscient, who we could solve and master all problems and evils. So we are not ultimate saviors either, but only simple people, who do not raise themselves above the Earth humans or other humans in the universe, even if we are generally higher developed in all things than the Earth humans, etc. We only come here in the obligation of bringing certain values of knowledge, etc., to the Earth humans through you, as well as through tele-impulse impressions, etc., unconscious for the Earth human, which he or she must grasp and compile to knowledge themselves.
Contact Report 296.
How do you actually keep it among your folks? Do they also mix to such an extent as is the case here on the Earth?
No. With us, all peoples adhere to the rule that they remain among themselves and do not mix with other peoples. Consequently, there is also no overpopulation of foreigners with us, which could lead to the mixing of folks. Even though all folks and races work together here, everything that belongs to the individual folks and races is preserved. Mixtures between members of different folks and races appear only extremely rarely.
Then there is a question about rituals for weddings, births, and naming, and about saying goodbye when people die. What do you think?
That is different for federations because there are allies with us who cultivate rituals according to their kind. But for our part, and this refers only to us Ptah, we have no rituals whatsoever. In the case of alliances, only a short word is spoken about the alliance to be entered into. As in the case of naming, in which a few words of welcome are also spoken about birth and appearance in life and as a new community member. If a person dies, then a farewell speech is given, which shows the deceased person in his deeds, thoughts, and feelings, as well as in his works and in his character, virtues and personality, etc. This also includes merits, etc. In all cases, however, no rituals take place, which is also the case for honors and merits, etc. during one's lifetime. Everything in the aforementioned matters takes place in a simple framework.
Aha, so no tam-tam. And what about busts and monuments, etc., in honor of people who have achieved great things?
Such commemorative works are also created by us, but no ritual acts are performed around them.
So simply pure works of honor and memory. This includes, as with us, gravestones and memorials?
That corresponds to the circumstances.
Even with memorials, there are no rituals and acts of worship, I suppose.
That's also true, yes.
Here on Earth, unfortunately, these things are handled differently. Pilgrimages, worship, cultural actions, etc. It's not about commemorative visits or simple memorial and testimonial visits to such places or monuments, etc. How is that with you in this relationship?
We also visit memorials and monuments, etc. But in any case, this is done only for the sake of remembrance and honor. And, as I said, no rituals and no ritual acts and the like are performed.
Contact Report 297.
I feel the need to diagnose what is causing you evil.
Then just what kind of device is this?
It is a further development of the device you have known for diagnostics before. Sit still. The thing now seems to be quite bad, as the data of my device show. I will take a blood sample from you. Here, give me your middle finger.
Aha, without a needle. Just like Star Trek. So they are on the right track with their fantasies. Do you, only you Ptah, do you also have pets? I mean those that are kept in human living premises.
No.
How do you deal with wild animals? Do you care for them in the same way as the people here on Earth? So do you also go hunting? Do you also have hunters for this purpose?
Hunting is not permitted in our country, and we leave the regulation of the population in the animal world to nature and its laws. The free nature is left with us so big and actually free enough that all animals have their necessary free space. Consequently, no animals migrate into villages and cities, as is the case on Earth, because the animals no longer have sufficient living space due to the enormous overpopulation of humans. It is forbidden for us to enter wild areas in order to build recreation or dwellings there. In addition, it is customary in our country, which unfortunately is not yet the case for all federates, that no game and no other animals which are kept in large parks and enclosures and which are used for dairy farming, etc., are killed in order to produce food from them, etc. We produce the necessary animal proteins for our food through special duplicators by producing synthetic meat that is absolutely equivalent to real animal meat.
Contact Report 300.
I am outraged, shocked, and shaken that various group members still have such negative forms of judging others.
Contact Report 301.
But I remember this special plant as mimosa. Even today I can still see her image in front of me, and how she has always turned to me, wherever I went into my office.
You are not mistaken, and your memory is good. My daughter Simyase once captured the phenomenon in a moving image, which you may have forgotten from memory. The recording is in our archives and even astonished our spiritual leadership when they saw this recording that we spread through our visual information devices.
Oh, I see. You are beautiful birds to me, for you have never told me anything about showing my wandering mimosa to all the people. Well, somehow I still remember Simyase recording everything with a small apparatus and then showing me the recordings on a small table where everything appeared as a hologram. Even I was present in this hologram and seemed lifelike before my eyes, just as if I myself had been present in the hologram, just tiny.
Contact Report 302.
You announced to me that you were coming, somewhat irritated because of Jacobus, who had made you furious.
That is right. I am outraged at his behavior towards you and his anti-community attitude. This indignation is equally true for Quetzal and everyone else.
Contact Report 303.
We call my home Askell. This is a planet in the Pleiadian system. My age is 278 years. By profession, you mean my occupation. I have learned 18 different jobs so far, including that of an ultra-subatomic computer technician. The meaning of my name is shoemaker. I have also learned this activity and practice it as a leisure activity when I am at home.
And he's gone. It is always interesting to see someone just disappear into thin air, so to speak. I am used to it, but still, because I always wonder if it might happen that you just disappear into eternity.
Our technology is so precise that this is impossible. But I do not want to talk about it, but about the incident with Jacobus, about which we were extremely shocked and which we have not coped with yet.
Contact Report 304.
My name is Nefertisa. My age I count with 211 years, and my home is the planet Lucita in the Pleiadian system. I am a close friend of Pseudo and we intend to form a marriage alliance.
I'm Tanisa and 182 years old. My homeland is Era, and I am Florina's closest friend, and at the same time I am also associated with Zaphanappanich. I greet you.
Splendid, that pleases me. I thought to myself that Zaphanappanich is a sneaky feller. By this I mean that he is already courting another woman, in addition to Florina.
That is his right. And Tanisa and I get along very well. And we are very pleased that Zaphanappanich has made his choice in this wise.
My name is Vitanica. I was born 289 years ago on Era, where I still live. I am Zaphanapanich's sister.
My age is 223 years and my name is Tanita. I am Florina's sister. My name means the one who gives thanks. The meaning of my name is the one who has magic powers.
My name means the equal stars.
My name means the good judge.
Sit down here and stretch your legs out. So, yes, one moment this device diagnoses your suffering. Aha! Especially the left knee is severely inflamed and suffers from a very severe lack of cartilage substance. The right knee is also badly affected. For a moment, this device will give you immediate relief and neutralize the inflammation. So how do you feel about your knees now?
You only drove over it once with your device. Well, actually, I do not feel any pain anymore. I get up and walk around a bit. Great, no more pain and everything seems to be normal again.
Then maybe it is good if the four of us say goodbye now and go outside for some time and take a look at the area and the animals in the enclosure.
You can do that, but make sure you do not meet anyone. But it is true, in this beautiful weather you can walk around a bit outside.
We will use our viewing protection devices so that we are not seen.
Be careful, girl. I was so happy. Salami, and gone they are. Just fascinating again and again, even if you have got used to it for a long time.
Contact Report 305.
I have known the meaning of Godon's name since 1988. If I remembered it correctly, the name means the rejoicing rider.
But to my name, its meaning is the one who cares for the flower. Exactly 160 years ago, I saw the light of my homeworld era. My main occupation that led me to Earth is paleontology, paleohistology, paleoclimatology, paleogeology, and paleogeography, as well as paleolithicology, if I use the terms correctly in your language.
I think so. Anyway, I realize that you have to do with early Earth history and early life on Earth as well as the Earth's climate and so on. But you said that you were born exactly 160 years ago. Does that mean that you are referring to today? I mean that exactly today the time of your birth rounds off for the 161st time.
That is the meaning of my words. Besides, I want to tell you that Gordon and I are a couple.
You have made a marriage alliance?
No, we do not have that yet, but it will be soon.
I am happy about that. And what is your age, Gordon?
That is no secret. I am 203 years old. My main occupation is the same as Queda's.
Just now we were in the garden and saw that there are already ripe strawberries there, which I would have liked to have tasted. Oh, but they are aromatic.
May I also taste them, my friend?
Of course, take it.
Really, they are really good.
May I ask what you want to do when someone suddenly appears and sees you?
That probably will not happen, because our sensors would warn us early.
In an emergency, we would just make ourselves invisible to observers.
Another question. Why did you not call me telepathically but walked everywhere to find me?
We just wanted to surprise you, which we succeeded in doing, I suppose.
Of course. If you want me to show you around, then we should do that.
That is what we want, yes.
Contact Report 306.
How is it then with you when an estate arises? Here on Earth, it is very often the case that the surviving relatives get together and dispute with one another, just because of the wealth, so because of the money and the goods and property, etc.
Such a doing is foreign to us.
Of course, you have indeed no money, and you can always get all goods and property from the community without any money. just what you want. This probably prevents any envy or any resentment, etc., which means that each one has what he or she wants. This might also explain why theft is a foreign word to you and why you have no crime in relation to this. If anyone can possess what he or she also always wants, and also receives this from the community, then any theft and fraud, etc., are nipped in the bud.
You encounter the sense of the matter.
Now, I would like to ask about what technology and energy source you actually use for your intergalactic and planetary communication. As I know, your technology is aligned in such a way that there is no loss of time during communication, not even when this is carried out across millions and billions of light years. Can you explain something about this to me? Or is it all a secret?
We use the technology of negative speed. By what means? A signal is already manifested at the destination through corresponding communication devices before the actual transmission or sending of the signal has even begun. Thus, the signal already reaches the goal upon input of the signal. The sending distance is unlimited and therefore extends throughout the whole universe. The energy sources, for which you ask, are actual signal carriers by which everything is linked together throughout the whole universe and through which the cosmic communication of all things, all life, and all existence takes place. These energy sources are not detectable and are not at all usable without suitable and high-precision auxiliary apparatuses. For the human eye, they are completely invisible, and they have the capacity to penetrate any matter irresistibly. And when I say any matter, I mean it. For no matter or antimatter exists throughout the whole universe that could not be penetrated by these energy sources that travel billions of times faster than the speed of light with unimpeded speed. These faster-than-light energy sources are subneutrinos. Our technology allows us to equip these with signals, which also happens with billions of times the speed of light, and has the effect that the signals spread like lightning throughout the whole universe, and indeed, indefinitely in all directions. In order, then, to catch the signals, special and highly sensitive sensors are necessary, through which the signals are then transmitted to an equalizer and deciphered.
Our science knows about neutrinos, however.
That's right. But I am not speaking of the neutrinos that are known to the earthly scientists, but of subneutrinos, concerning which the scientists of the Earth do not know that they exist.
But now, I have got a question about beaming. At what distance is this possible for you?
The distance amounts to 3 light seconds.
Bang. That is, yes, 1 moment. Yes, that is indeed about 900,000 kilometers. Just a moment. 899,377.374 kilometers, as my auxiliary brain says here.
That is right.
So, do your personal protective shields function like the ship's protective shields? I mean such that the protective shields automatically strengthen when any energies or materials collide with them? And what about physical projectiles? Do they become deflected or dissolved? Or are they also converted into shield-strengthening energy?
You gave the answer yourself. The personal protective shields function in the same way as the protective shields of our aircraft. Any energy hitting them is converted and reinforces the shields, by what means they become absolutely impenetrable and indestructible. Also, any matter hitting the protective shields, including firearm bullets, etc., immediately turn into pure energy, which the protective shield takes in and absorbs, strengthening it. Larger objects, such as large meteors or comets, on the other hand, are only partially dissolved into energy, while the largest part is hurled away by the impact on the protective shield.
Contact Report 307.
Do you allow me to use your writing instrument for a few hours?
Of course. I have already told you several times that you need not ask me particularly about it, but that you can simply use the typewriter if you feel like it. What do you have to write that is so important? With your technology, it is easier for you to write down everything you want or need to.
That is right. But I find it very interesting and relaxing to be able to write down my thoughts and feelings with such a writing instrument. Somehow I find it romantic, and I also feel very connected to you when I sit in your chair and work with your writing instrument.
Aha, so you are also romantic.
Furthermore, I am also devoted to you in deep friendly love. To your inclusion of these two recordings, which I have found in my father's, Svath's, legacy, with other notes, etc., still existing, I will connect you in my flying apparatus to devices known to you, whereby you will be conscious of the recordings in a few moments.
But something different. At the moment, the street parade in Zurich that took place yesterday is coming to an end. Also in Berlin, such a parade is always taking place. What do you think?
For my part, I am a very modern person in every respect, even if the antiquated can offer me a lot. I am also open for the youth, in whose circles I often stay and feel comfortable. So I also take part in their leisure activities and in anything else they create or undertake. And when I speak of our youth, I also mean children who are both of puberty and prepubescent age. Their occupations of all kinds are, however, meaningful, if sometimes also omitted. But what is offered and undertaken at these street parades in Zurich and Berlin is, in the truest sense of the word, simply frighteningly primitive and unworthy of a civilized person. It is indeed the primitive act in behavior. Those who participate in these activities obviously also do not have a valuable life content through which they are consciously able to evolve. And quite obviously also humans who should have recognized the true meaning and value of life, at least according to what they claim to know and understand in relation to the creational truth and the creational laws and recommendations, can be led to this primitive doing. Participation in such frighteningly primitive events, however, testifies to the opposite of what they purport to understand and know.
Contact Report 310.
But I know you. You have been with Ptah and me in Vienna lately. Your name means she is like a queen. I still remember that well. You told me that yourself. You are from Era.
That is so, yes. Well, I am 93 years old.